In this video, we'll learn how to create a rich text column in Loocey and go over the settings and options of rich text columns. There are two ways to create a column in Loocey. We can either open the context menu of an existing column and click on Add Column to Right, then choose Rich Text from the drop-down, or we can click on the plus sign at the end of the table, select More Options, and then choose Rich Text from the Column Type drop-down. We can enter the display name and click on Add if we want to use the default options. Now that we've added the rich text column, you'll notice that instead of typing directly into the table, we'll see a View Content button in each cell. When we click View Content, a rich text editor opens where we can write and style our content. This editor includes various formatting tools, such as heading levels, bold, italic, underline, bulleted and numbered lists, hyperlinks, code blocks, block quotes, text color and alignment, horizontal lines, and more via the Other menu. Let's enter an example. Welcome to the Project Hub as Heading 1. This is where we track updates, share ideas, and collaborate. You can bold key phrases, use italics for notes, or add a list of action items. We can also open the right panel by clicking on the item name and make changes to the fields from the right panel. The difference is that from the right panel, we need to click on Save to save all field changes at once instead of one by one on the table view. Note, the Save button will be disabled by default until you make changes. Let's open a few rich text cells, enter some styled content using bold, headings, and bullet points, and then save. Next, let's look at some of the other options while creating rich text columns. Let's add another column and look at the other options. You can set a default value for a rich text column so that it's used for all new rows created in this list. For example, if you want every new row to include a standard message, you can enter something like, "Please provide detailed information." This way, each time you create a new row, the rich text column will automatically be filled with this default content, unless you update it manually. Note that while setting a default value during column creation, you can only enter plain text. Formatting tools like bold, headings, or lists are not available at this stage. Next, the required option, just like the name implies, makes a column a required field when creating or updating records. By default, the name column is required. If we want to mark the rich text column as required, we'll also need to set a default value. This ensures the column always has a valid entry when new records are created. Let's enter an example rich text, like "Please enter your full name" as the default value. If we mark another column, in this case, rich text, as required, the Add Item input box will change into a button link. Then, when we click on either the Add Item link or the new button at the top, the system will open a dialog showing all required column inputs. Let's add another record and enter the values for the required columns in the dialog, then click on Create. The record will be added along with the value for the required rich text column. This design of keeping track of required columns helps keep our table consistent and prevents invalid data entries. The isNull flag is a somewhat technical term, which simply means that if no default value is entered, this column will allow nulls instead of a value. Again, this is a database term, and it's okay if you leave it the default. Note that when we switch off the isNull option, the default value field will become required, as now the column requires a default value. This is because if you already have data in your list and if you turn off the null option, this column will need to be populated with another value, otherwise, we would get an error in the database. That's it for today. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to be notified when we release new tutorials. Thanks for watching and see you next time.